Well, I'm really glad that you stopped by today for part 2 of my birthday haul. Now, again, this is somewhat removed from that time, but I'm only kind of getting around to it now. It's been busy times, man. Busy times as we head through the spring into the summer, up and coming. And part 1 of my birthday haul was the studio series Ratchet that I got from Starscream Girlfriend. And I mentioned that I think that wasn't all that I got. No, I got something else. Something that isn't new, something that I wanted for a long time, and something that I'm very glad to add to my collection. It is a figure from 2008 from the Transformers Universe line. It is the Voyager class Vector Prime. And he's going to be our focus in the latest GotBot True review. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm your host, Dennis Moulton, aka GotBot. It's wonderful that you're here again. Check me out everywhere. Have a look at Machinery of Man, The Everything Factor, and Transformers Collectors NL. And this is Vector Prime. I'm so glad that Starscream Girlfriend got this guy for me. Not because he's perfect, because he's really not. But because I really feel like this is Vector Prime. Now, arguably, some might say, no, because his color is way off. The version that was released in the Cybertron line is correct. Some might even say that that's not correct. It has to be the Japanese version. Some might say that's not correct because the stock photos at the time kind of had an amalgam of both of those color schemes. Some might even say that his appearance in the Covenant of Primus is more indicative of his Galaxy Force release, but I like this color scheme. And I like the fact that we don't have translucent plastic here. Well, except for his Cyber Planet key. He's big, he is imposing, and he's a force to reckon with. He's the guy that controls time and space and how the universe is supposed to unfold. He's kind of like a universe policeman, so to speak. And for that one reason alone, the guy's enigmatic and absolutely rocks. No, he's not perfect, but man, am I glad to add him to my collection. Anyway, enough of me kind of going on about him. Let's head over to the table and take a closer look at this guy. And so, this is, I suppose you could say, part 2 of my birthday haul from Starscream Girlfriend. This, of course, is the Transformers Universe 2008 version of Vector Prime. Now, why do I note that? Well, this mold has been used a few times. There was the original release during the Cybertron line, and of course, that was supposed to be, anyway, depending on whether or not you go by the North American release or the Japanese release or the stock photography that was kind of a conglomeration of both of those paint schemes. That is definitely intended to be the most screen accurate to his animation. Then there was the Galaxy Force release, and that had a lot of black and gold. It was good. It really kind of looks like his coloring in the image depicted in the Covenant of Primus. And then we got this in 2008 with a lot of brown, black, blue, and silver, but I wanted this one for a couple of reasons. The first of which is that it's noted as being a version that was kind of released in low quantities, so it's not the most abundant, but perhaps the most important reason was that it doesn't have translucent blue or translucent orange plastic. It's, it does have, of course, some soft rubbery plastic, but I'm not a translucent fan usually, and if I had a way to be able to avoid it, then I really wanted to do that. Now, he's almost 100% complete, not quite, but for what he's missing, it kind of doesn't matter. I find in the aftermarket, for this dude, it is challenging to find a version for a reasonable price that is 100% complete. And that means having things like his Cyber Planet key. Not that I really care about his Cyber Planet key, but we'll look at that closer shortly. Having Safeguard, his Minicon partner, who again we'll look at shortly. He might be missing his sword or his missile. Perhaps the most egregious thing is when he's missing his shoulder pads. Now, he still functions fine without them. It's not a huge necessity, but it does kind of hurt the silhouette not having them. So I was really kind of glad to find this guy and this color scheme for a reasonable price. Now, I was even more happy when Starscream Girlfriend picked them up for my birthday. So, I don't have a box or instructions with the guy. Like I said, he's not quite 100% complete. But we will start off taking a look at his accessories. And if you are inclined, here is the Cyber Planet key. By rights, it goes into his abdomen, and there are supposed to be lights and sounds. This version does not have the lights and sounds. I don't really care. It's a translucent orange with gold in behind it. It looks cool. You know, as far as the Cyber Planet key goes, I don't know. Maybe I'll put it in the Omega lock for Primus or something. I don't know. We'll see. But there you go. There is his Cyber Planet key. And though scratched up a little bit, for example here and up here, this is his second accessory. It is his sword. You know, as a member of the original 13 Primes and the guy who's supposed to watch over time and space and kind of make sure that the universe proceeds as it should, his artifact is the Blades of Time. I don't know if his sword is supposed to be indicative of the Blades of Time or not, but it looks cool, and I'm glad that it's colored rather than just one clear translucent piece. And his next accessory, I guess we'll call it an accessory, is this little blaster plane thing. This, of course, is his Minicon Safeguard, who is in fact a figure in his own right. He's a Minicon, and I kind of dig having him, not because I'm a huge fan of Minicons, I'm not, but he spent a lot of time on Vector's arm. He's noted as being able to be really good at collecting data, and he's a fierce warrior, apparently. So I'm glad to have him. I wouldn't really want to have a version of the figure, even if it was more animation accurate, that didn't have Safeguard. I think he's one of the accessories that it's almost inexcusable not to have, at least in my opinion. Yours, of course, may differ. He is, I mean, I guess he works kind of cool for what he is. I like the mix of the brown and gray. He has a glorious silver face. I'm not going to grade this guy independent of the whole figure, because I don't think it's fair. He's technically a part of the figure. He works all right like this. He looks good. To transform him is pretty simple. You just bend out his legs and bend up his toes. And you take this piece on the back and you bend it down over his back, and boom, there you go. You have Safeguard. Let's just get him stood up. Now, like I said, the color scheme is fine. I love the silver on the face of the guy. The transformation is simple. You're just flipping down his legs and flipping that piece on his back. Truth is, it's quite a similar transformation to the bigger Vector Prime figure itself. So there's a certain symmetry to it, and I kind of dig that. In terms of articulation, well, he's a Minicon. He doesn't have fantastic articulation. He does, however, have a little Minicon port here. He stands well because this piece that flips down over the back kind of acts like a third stabilizing leg. He has an elbow to about 90 degrees because of the little ball joint it's on. It sort of has a bit of a bicep swivel. It can go all the way around. It can't really go out to the side. That, I guess, is a shame. The legs are independent of one another. They can both kick forward, and I guess they could both, if you get that out of the way, they can both kick back, no problem. They bend deep at the knee. We have toe tilt on both. Again, they can't go out to the side. So, I mean, you know, it's not perfect articulation by any stretch of the imagination, but I think it's effective for the little guy, for the size that we're talking about. Now that we're done with him, let's move on to the main event. And of course, that main event is the rather large and robust Vector Prime himself. Like I said, he is a member of the original 13, and kind of the watcher over time and space, and he wields the Blades of Time. You know, what can I say? He's kind of at touch with his people because he's been isolated for so long, sort of living outside of the limits of dimensions and time and space. He's a dynamic, interesting character all the same. So, we're going to do a few size comparisons here, I guess, with the only ones that really make sense, other members of the original 13. First and foremost, we'll throw in, I don't know, let's say my version of Prima. Prima, of course, here is a reuse of the Protoform Optimus Prime mold. Specifically, this is the version that came out in the Mission to Cybertron Last Night 2-pack, and I looked at this guy and the kind of deluxe class truck mode Optimus Prime a little while ago in episode 381. And if you have seen the way Prima looks, the model that's used from the Covenant of Primus, this is really close and accurate. So hey, that's what I'm going to use it as. So there you go, kind of a Voyager and a Deluxe here. Because keep in mind, by the way, that Vector is a Voyager class figure. So taking him out of it, here he is compared with another member of the 13, although arguably, depending on what you follow, I follow the Covenant of Primus, so this guy counts. Titan's Return, Voyager class Alpha Trion, who I looked at a long time ago, along with 4 base modes in episode 190, if I'm not mistaken. So you can see how the two of them match up. Obviously, Vector is larger. Taking him out of it. Here he is with something sort of random, one might say. It is the Fallen from the Revenge of the Fallen line. Of course, Megatronus. And these guys are pretty respectable in terms of being the same height. So I sort of dig that, even though the aesthetic is completely different. Here he is with something more current, and the only Prime Master that I think really makes sense, Micronus, because of course Micronus was the first Minicon, so you can see how Vector matches up with Micronus. And I looked at Micronus along with the rest of Wave 1 of the Prime Masters in episode 346. I looked at the Megatronus the Fallen in episode 29, by the way, a long time ago, taking him out of it. And a mold that many know being the Evasion Mode Optimus Prime. And again, he's larger than Optimus. You can see how the size has changed over the years. Now that we have a few of these here, maybe you notice a little bit of a theme. Let's kind of get a group photo, a family photo, if you will. And like I said, you might notice a theme. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, little 6 down there who I just knocked over. But we have 6 members now of the original. Titan Masters don't like these Prime Masters don't like to stand up the most. But we have 6 members now of the original 13. I don't know. I realize that the aesthetics here are different and whatnot, but I really dig that I'm able to finally start to get this group together. I would love to have the other members of this group. I know that there's that third-party Solus, which I'd love to have. Very, very difficult to find. You know, bring me a proper Alchemist and a proper Amalgamist, Quintus, Nexus. You know what? Give me a proper Liege Maximo. Make that happen. I'd love to have a Liege Maximo. I think that'd be great. But there you go. You can see how Vector fits in with all these guys. And he's one of the biggest. He's certainly one of the most imposing and certainly has a stature among his peers. All that said, of course, is the guy actually any good? Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it. We're going to grade him as we always do. Before we get into a discussion of that, though, let's see kind of how his accessories interact with him. Now, you may have noticed that there's one accessory that he came with that I did not show because I don't have it. In the nose section, we're supposed to have a little missile that this button here fires. I don't have that little missile, and I really don't care. It's, you know, get a little missile from something else if you want it in there bad enough, I suppose. But that doesn't bother me. That's one piece that I really didn't care if I had or not. I have the pieces that I was concerned about having. You may also notice, by the way, I'll turn this back around. You may also notice that we have one little spoke over here, and you see that a lot. It's because the other spoke is created when you use the storage for the sword over here. Now there's one on each side. That's brilliant storage. On the side of the back cape spaceship mode part, I think that's genius. I absolutely love it. The safeguard Minicon. Well, we have Minicon ports on this arm and the other arm, and you could do as was often seen and have safeguard on Vector Prime's arm. You can do that, and if you were thinking to yourself, hey, I don't really want him there, I don't want to place him aside, but I don't really want him there. Well, good news again. You can put him in the location that he stores for vehicle mode and just leave him there. So removing him from the side here, we come to the back. By the way, I should mention this too. On the back of this piece, we have a panel right here. Now there's a screw or a rivet or something right there. I think that's where you put batteries for the lights and sounds that this guy had. This guy does not have them. You cannot open that port. Again, that doesn't bother me. I don't really like lights and sounds that much. So here we have a kind of a cutout section here and a Minicon port in there, and you can take safeguard and put him on right there and just leave him on the back if that's what you want to do. By the way, I didn't show it. I guess I probably should, but he can also hold the sword quite securely in his hand. It works great. It works fantastic. So putting that back in there. That leaves one accessory, of course, his Cyber Planet key. There's a little slot on his tummy here, and you can place that down right there, and now he has a Cyber Planet key. It's up to you if you dig the look or not. Normally when you put this in, you get lights and sound. You'll notice I'm not getting any. Whatever. I'm going to take it out for now because I like the look of Vector this way. Now, paint apps. I got to only give it about a 4. That's the objective me, because it's not accurate to anything at all. It's cool, but it's not accurate to anything. So I'm going to say 4. And that's being generous. Truth is, it probably should be a 0 because it's not accurate to anything that I know of anyway. But the fan in me loves this gorgeous mix of brown and black that is kind of highlighted with a very bright, brilliant blue. But more important than that, excellent green eyes and glorious silver. I love the look of this. It looks like a Prime. It looks like a leader. It has a regal quality to it. So, in terms of it looking good, subjectively, it's like a 9.5. I think it's fantastic. I think it's one of the nicest color schemes that this guy got. Even though there are molded in detail bits here that still could have been picked out with more color yet again. The objective me is being generous and giving it a 4 because it doesn't really relate to anything. Well, that's not a strong start. What about something such as his articulation? Maybe that's better. And then again, maybe it won't be. We'll see. The head can go left and right. I think it's on a mushroom peg, much like Power of the Prime's Sludge. The arms. Oh, listen to that glorious ratchet. That sounds great. They ratchet all the way around. The arms can go out on... What I'm going to say is a soft ratchet. There are clicks there, but you don't really hear them the same. I guess you kind of hear them. We have an elbow to just under 90 degrees. I wish that that was a little deeper. We have a forearm swivel, though no wrist swivel, but we have a forearm swivel. Here's the one big bummer with the guy. You can bring his arm up like that. You can swivel his forearm. You cannot take his arm across his chest because he does not have a bicep rotation. He also does not have a waist. I guess I can understand it because of all of the kind of junk on the back. Both of those things, unfortunate. That's where we start to see the kind of the age of this mold. We can bring up these front skirt pieces though, and he can kick way forward. If we take his wings out, and I mean they can come out and come up over the top of them or whatever you want, but if you take them out and kind of bring the backpack back, the legs can go all the way back. We have a nice knee over 90 degrees. We have, and all this clicky ratchets by the way, we have a thigh swivel. We have toes that can tilt down because of transformation. Even they're on a ratchet. Like I said, these, I guess it's supposed to be his cape, but they can move any way you want them. I leave them all the way down like that. But that's just me. You can get some dynamic poses with him. His feet can be a little bit of a pain. You sometimes have to find the balance point. For as large as they are, you still sometimes have to find the balance point. He's not perfect. Lack of a waist, unfortunate. Not a deal breaker for me, but unfortunate. The big drawback is lack of bicep swivel. So, again, while you can get some nice dynamic poses with him, while he certainly has a presence, overall I would have to say that his articulation is at best a 7. Overall right now the guy's getting about a 5.5. I know, that does not sound that great. Stick with me now because I'll kind of address that a little bit later on as well. So, 5.5. What about his transformation? Maybe that'll cure everything that ails us. Well, as I mentioned, his transformation is very similar to Safeguard's. Certainly not the same, but pretty close. And it's not hard. We begin by turning the head around, and then this whole backpack section comes right up over it. I know, it's up at a screen now. Don't worry about it, because right now you just know the whole backpack is up over his head. The wing pieces here on the back are on these huge hinges. We can take them out to the side and out to the side for now. Then we come to the arms. We straighten the arms out. Straighten the arms out. We bring the forearm guards forward, and we're going to bring down the shoulders. Now, if you're missing the shoulder pieces, like again, you can still transform him fine, but you're going to be missing this piece of it. You know, it'll just be his shoulder there. On his hips, we'll say, like right here and over right here, there are little black pegs, and on the inside of his forearm we have a cutout where the arms go on over those pieces on the hip. And it's quite secure actually once you put them on. So now they're in. Fabulous. I don't know if I quite put that up all the way. There, now I have it up all the way. All that leaves now to deal with are the legs. And the legs will kind of bend back at the hip and the knee and come all the way back. And when they come back, there's a little peg right here and a little peg right here. On his heels we have slot here and a slot here. They go on over those pegs that I just mentioned. So we do that and we bring the hips all the way back. And we bend at the knee, and hopefully that heel should go on over the peg there. It's a little bit of a nuisance sometimes to peg it in. It helps a bit if you have the foot kind of angled forward a little bit. So bring that up and on over. And now we have this much. And we open this piece out, which apparently isn't the wing. Apparently it is like a solar panel. We come to the other side and we open out the other solar panel apparently. Like that. And really, boom, in the end, here we have Vector Prime. So I wanted to give you guys a close look at the detail, or as close as we kind of can here. He has wheels, so he can roll, which I guess that's cool. I love how like the blue in the shoulder hinges just kind of peeks out and gives a little bit of color breakup. Though he's supposed to be a flying craft, he doesn't really have wings per se. These can stay forward or go angled back. You can see all of that painted detail, and I mean it looks beautiful, absolutely fantastic. Even Safeguard on top doesn't really stick out like a sore thumb or anything to me. Now the transformation is pretty easy. We wrapped his legs down under him, we have his arms on the side, and we flipped this whole front piece up. Apparently this is supposed to take cues from the Axalon, the ship that was used during Beast Wars. I don't know if it does. I never really thought of it in that manner. The transformation, It's not the most interesting thing in the world. I mean, you're just kind of folding him over for the most part. It's really not the most interesting thing in the world. Maybe a 6. Maybe a 6. We get a cool looking alt mode, but like, you don't do much to get to it. So it was a 5.5. A 6 for this. The guy's about a 5.75. I mean, it's not a stellar figure. It's not the most interesting figure in the world. But that's objective me. Fan me loves having a representation of Vector Prime finally to go with my original 13, or at least what I'm starting to amass for that. The size of this guy, the nice robust plastic that he's made out of. He has a great presence, and he feels solid. You don't feel like you're going to break anything with him at all. I like doing the conversion as simple as it is, because while the method of transformation isn't the most satisfying, the alt mode that you achieve is, at least to me, satisfying, and the robot mode that you achieve is, at least to me, very satisfying. In a way, I guess I'm glad that the go-between doesn't take forever, because that might ruin it. Kids, however, kids will love this guy because he looks cool. He's big for their little hands, so it's easy to manipulate stuff. And changing him isn't something that's going to take 10 or 15 minutes. So the objective me says that he's about a 5.75. The me looking at this as, hey, is this one that you could get for kids? Yeah, you sure could, and I think he'd be a solid 8. But the fan in me, the subjective fan in me, says he's about a 9.5. About the only thing that I could want added would be a bicep swivel. Outside of that, I absolutely love the guy. I'm glad I found him. I'm glad I found this version of him, and I'm even more glad that Starscream Girlfriend got him for me for my birthday. So happy to have this version of this guy. And here we are again, and here's Vector Prime again. Like I said, looking at it objectively, he's not going to score the best because he's pretty simplistic. You know, he certainly isn't a one-step changer, but I mean, there's not a lot of steps to the guy. He doesn't have a bicep rotation. That's really a shame, especially when we've become kind of accustomed to it in the modern age. But that doesn't change the fact that the guy rocks, man. The guy looks so cool, and he looks like somebody that when he shows up, like something monumental, something epic is gonna go down. And for that reason alone, I have to give the guy a high subjective score. He was hard to grade because I really, really wanted to say 9.5. I love him. I just wish he had a bicep swivel. But he's not perfect. Is he great for kids? Yeah, I think he is great for kids because they'll be able to transform this guy really no problem. Though they might pop off a couple of pieces like these shoulder pads that are so often lost. They're probably going to lose the missile that I don't have either. Overall, is he worth adding? That's always the kind of be-all, end-all question when I look at these things. And I have to say that even despite his imperfections, yeah, he is, because he's one of the original 13. Is he probably due for an update? Arguably, yes. However, I can almost guarantee you that if we get a bicep swivel, one of two things will happen. Either he'll be at the leader class size and a leader class price point, and it's up to you if you think he's a significant enough character for that, or he would be reduced in size at a current Voyager class price point. And this Voyager class figure is a bit bigger. And I doubt that he would feel quite as heavy and robust. I don't know. This may be one of those cases where the older incarnation of the figure would be the one to stick with. Who knows if we ever will get an update, but for now at least, I am so happy to add this guy to my collection. Let me know what you think about Vector Prime. Let me know what you think about this version of him, which apparently was not released in huge quantities, which is another reason why I wanted this version. Perhaps you like one of the other ones better. Perhaps you don't like this guy at all. As always, you know that I love to hear what you think about these little plastic robots. I thank you for dropping by, for giving me some of your very valuable time. Please hit that subscribe button, stick around, have some fun. While you're at it, why not like, comment, and share. Support is always appreciated. It helps such a tremendous amount, probably more than you could ever know. And I very much look forward to the next time that you and I get together to have another visit right here inside the video.